We're always talking about a country's vital signs, things like its economy or its employment rate. But what about the actual literal health of its people? Today, we're putting an entire nation on the exam table for a full-on health checkup.
I mean, really think about that. When you go for a checkup, you find out what's working well, and you get flagged on some things you need to watch out for. A national checkup is exactly the same. It tells us where the country is thriving and where it really needs to pay attention.
Well, guess what? We have that exact report right here. We are diving into the official results from Malaysia's 2023 National Health and Morbidity Survey. This is basically the country's official health report card, and we are going to break it all down.
But okay, before we get to the juicy results, it's super important to understand how a massive checkup like this was even done. This wasn't just some quick online poll, not at all. This was a deep, in-person, nationwide study.
And believe me, the process was meticulous. First, they randomly selected thousands of households all across the country. Then, trained teams went out and conducted these really detailed interviews. After that came the actual clinical tests. We're talking blood pressure checks and even finger prick blood tests for things like sugar and cholesterol. And finally, they took all of that data, crunched the numbers, and created this amazing snapshot of the entire nation's health. So the results are in. And just like any good doctor's visit, let's kick things off with the good news, shall we? Because there are some genuinely encouraging trends here that show real progress is being made. And wow, this chart right here, it shows one of the biggest wins. It tracks the prevalence of overall disability in Malaysia. And you can just see that clear, steady drop over the last 3 surveys. It went from almost 12% back in 2015, all the way down to just over 8% in 2023. I mean, that's a huge deal. So that's the key number to remember on the positive side, 8.2%. It's a solid sign of progress. But as you know, a thorough checkup rarely brings only good news. All right, so now we have to look at the other side of the coin, the tougher parts of this report card. These are the major health hurdles that the survey has flagged as urgent priorities for the nation. And this is probably one of the most alarming trends in the entire report. While physical disability has gone down, our mental health challenges have gone way up. Just look at this chart on depression. Back in 2019, the rate was about 2.3%. Fast forward to 2023, and it shot up to 4.6%.
Yeah, let that sink in for a second. The rate of depression among adults in Malaysia has literally doubled in just 4 years. That is a massive increase and a serious red flag for public health.
So, who's being hit the hardest by this? Well, the survey data points to some very specific groups. Younger folks between 16 and 29, women, students, and people in the lowest income bracket. This gives us a really clear map of where help is needed the most. And mental health isn't the only major hurdle. The report also highlights a problem that just won't go away, stating it very plainly. Overweight and obesity are still huge public health challenges, and the survey suggests the reasons for this are buried deep in our everyday habits.
Which is the perfect lead-in to our next section. See, the survey didn't just diagnose problems, it dug into the lifestyle factors that are causing them. So this is kind of like the report card on the nation's collective habits.
First up, sleep. Or maybe I should say the lack of it. Get this, almost 38% of adults in Malaysia aren't getting enough sleep. That works out to an estimated 8.6 million people who are just chronically tired, which affects, well, everything, from their physical to their mental health.
Next up, diet. The survey flagged that a lot of people aren't getting enough fruits and veggies. So what does inadequate even mean? Well, according to the official guidelines, it means you're eating less than 5 servings of fruits and vegetables combined every day. And it's a target that a lot of us just aren't hitting.
Now, this next part is fascinating. It's a total paradox. On one hand, the good news is that physical inactivity has actually gone down. Fewer people are living completely inactive lives. But, and here's the catch, our sedentary behavior is way up. Almost half of adults are sitting for over 2 hours a day. So it's like we might be going to the gym, but we're also stuck at a desk all day. We're exercising more, but we're also sitting more. And finally, there's a big one we all know has risks: smoking. The rate among adult men is still stubbornly high at nearly 36%. To put that in perspective, that is more than 1 out of every 3 men in the country. Okay, so we've gone through the checkup, we've seen the diagnosis, now it's time for the plan of action. The great thing about this report is it doesn't just point out problems, it actually outlines a prescription for a healthier nation. These are the official doctor's orders.
To fight obesity, the plan is about so much more than just eat less, move more. It calls for things like stress management and psychological therapies, which acknowledges that our minds and our bodies are connected, and making yearly BMI and waist screenings a normal thing to catch problems early.
And to tackle that huge spike in depression, the game plan is all about getting in early and giving targeted support. That means training people for early recognition, boosting mental health programs specifically for young people, and getting different agencies to work together to create a stronger safety net.
And then, zooming out, the big picture idea is to really beef up the whole preventative health system. Key ideas here include expanding national health screenings to start at age 18 and empowering all of us to monitor our own health using modern tools like mobile apps to make it easier than ever before. So after looking at all this data, the good, the bad, and the really urgent stuff, what's the final diagnosis? What's the main takeaway for the path forward?
You know what? The report itself says it perfectly. Improving the health of a whole country isn't a one-person job. It requires a multi-sectoral approach. That's a fancy way of saying it takes everyone. The government, doctors and nurses, private companies, and crucially, individuals themselves. All of us.
Because at the end of the day, all these big national statistics, they're really just a reflection of millions of individual choices. The nation's health is just the sum of our health. Which leaves us all with one last question to think about. When it's time for the next national checkup, what's one change you can make for a better report card?